Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is Bart coming to you from TST Industries in Florida. Today, we have a project that we're going to be showcasing for you. 22 Honda Grom. We have some LED signals that we'll be installing on there. Typically, what we do is make an installation video for each individual part set that we sell. These vary in installation procedure by just a very tiny little bit. So what we're going to do in this video is do a comprehensive installation showcasing all of these. We're really just going to focus on one side. The other side of the bike is basically the same procedure repeated, so we're not going to do that. We are going to show you what they look like when the installation is finalized so that you can make the best choice that you could possibly make based on all the information we give you. Now, let's just quickly go through the different signals that we provide. These are our BL6 signals. They have 6 LEDs on board, very nice optics, very nice packaging. They also have a rubber mounted stud so that in case you do boot these things or brush up against something, chances are they will last you and won't break off part of the bike. These echo signals are all aluminum construction, CNC machined, anodized, and they have some really cool laser engraving on them. They fire one single very high power LED out of a very sophisticated lens array, and they also have these cool anodized rings. They come silver by default, but we provide all these different colors. If you want to change them out, like for this bike, I would probably go with red. I'll show you how to do that real quick before we install them. And these are a separate item, but they're very inexpensive. So I hope you check that out on our website, tstindustries.com. We have all that stuff ready for you. Our flush mount signals vary from this design in a way that they sit flush against the panel that they mount to. They have 12 high power LEDs in there, and they also have a lens array. So they do fire in a broad angle. They're very visible. Obviously they don't stick out as far as this, so you got to be comfortable with your choices. We just provide the parts. You have to make the right choice based on what you see here. So we're going to show these installed. You make your choice. As you can see here, our signals, and if you look around on the market, most signals come terminated in 3.5 millimeter bullet connectors. Why is that? Well, we provide these for many different types of bikes, and we don't want to make too many different SKUs that we have to keep stock of. So what we do is couple them up with vehicle-specific harness converters. Now, these are separate components. You have to couple them up in your cart. So make sure that when you're buying your signals for this bike, you choose the appropriate harness converter. Now we'll get back to that in just a second. I'll tell you which one is the appropriate. But first I want to mention, when you move away from the OEM incandescent light bulb type signals and go with LED type signals, you're decreasing the current draw on your signaling system, and therefore your signaling system will go haywire and stop flashing. Your signals will be just stuck on. So whether you change the front or the rear or both to a low current application, you will need to do something about that low current draw if you want to restore your flash rate. For that purpose, we do have an LED flasher relay. This is our Gen 2F relay. It's plug and play into this bike. It takes about 25 seconds to install it. It actually mounts the very same way to the bike and to the electronics. So it's really nice. Also, if you bust this cap off, there's a little potentiometer in there. You could adjust the flash rate to your liking. They come preset at 85 cycles per minute. If that's your thing, good to go. If not, you can play around and set it to your liking. All right, let's get back to these harness converters. We have 2 harness converters that have the same exact OEM plug for the harness side on this bike. The difference is they either terminate in 2 wires or 3 wires. These bikes come outfitted, at least in the United States and American market, they come outfitted with a running light function, which means they illuminate when the key goes on and they stay solid. And when you initiate flashing, signaling, they'll flash. And then you stop flashing, they restore to running light. All these signals have only one light circuit, so they could only flash. That is, if you outfit them with the 3-to-2 harness converter. Now, if you want to restore your running light function, you will have to go with our running mate coupled with our 3-to-3 converter. That all just plugs together and I'll demonstrate how that's done. This is a very simple concept. We have a separate video on this set of components. We have a separate video on this component. You could always research the nuances of those parts in those separate videos. We'll just demonstrate how that's installed and show you what it does. Now, sorry about the long talk. I'm almost done. We have pod signals that go into very large holes on this bike, so we'll need some means of mounting them. And for that purpose, we have these converter plates that are specific to this vehicle. If you're buying the pod signals, please consider getting the plate set. This will make your installation very easy. And also, this is how I'm gonna show the installation flow on this bike. That's it. Sorry about the talk, done yapping. Let's get to the bike and get wrenching. All right, regardless of which actual signal lamps you went with, the first several steps is gonna be the disassembly of the headlight unit off the bike. For that purpose, we will be taking out 4 fasteners, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. They are 5mm Allen. Once those fasteners are out, we pull up on the light, and then we'll get to this connector. We'll unlock it and take it off. And now the headlight can go off to the side, and we can find our wiring for the signals. Right signal is blue, left is orange. We can disconnect these guys. It's very simple. Pull up on the tab and pull that out. Now under here, we have 10mm nut that's holding this whole stock to the bike. Let's go ahead and take that out. It's hard to see right now, but once I take it out, I'll show you guys where it goes and what I'm taking off actually. So the 10mm nut that I took off from the inside there goes on top of this stud here that goes through the rubber. And once that's out and we've taken out the opposite mating end of the metal connection that sandwiches together, this can just be deformed like this and taken out. And we'll just have to manage all these components through. I do think that this metal piece has to come off the harness first. All right, so the original configuration within this well here looks like this. On the inside, it's capped off with this nut. So this is what you'll see on the inside here. This nut comes off, this metal piece comes off, take it all off, take this out, deform and pull, and now the whole signal's out. I'm gonna repeat the steps on this side. For our first demonstration, we're going to choose the flush mount signal. They are available in clear or smoked. What you see here is smoked. There's a broader end and a skinnier end. The broader end goes forward. They are supplied with a washer and a nut. Those obviously go from the inside of the bike. I'm going to feed the wires through, position the signal like so, and then get our washer on and our nut. Now, care must be exercised to not twist the wires up. Some people have a tendency to turn the signal while they hold the nut in there. If you turn that this way and hold the wires, they will get twisted up and yanked out from the circuit. We don't want to do that. That makes the signal not work. So just want to make sure that we're turning the nut. Once that bottom's out, I'm going to attempt to use a 17mm wrench in there That is actually pretty impossible. So we're gonna gain more access under there. 2 5mm Allen screws here. We'll take this shroud off. All right, that's nice and simple. And now we have access to this nut. Now you have to exercise care in how much you tighten this. You just wanna preload the threads just a little bit and bow that washer in a little bit. Do not go past this point because you're running the risk of actually fracturing the stud from the signal, and that will make this lamp very unusable and void your warranty. So let's not do that. All right, we have 2 bullet connectors here. Grab our 3-to-2 converter. If you're not doing the running light module, this is what you'll be presented with. Yellow to yellow, black to black, very simple. And these connectors, these harnesses do have these insulating caps, but they do have a tendency to slide off sometimes. And if they touch each other or the ground, you will cause a short circuit and you will blow a fuse, rendering your signals unusable. So what we do is lock these connections down with electrical tape. All right, now this is properly insulated. Let's plug it in and test it. Okay, we do have light coming out of it, but it's solid. Like I mentioned before in my intro, if you still have your stock signaling relay, this will be a common symptom that you'll find. So what I'll do is I'll quickly change the OEM relay to TST relay, and boom, good to go. This is a separate component. Not everybody needs it. Some people already have them installed. That's why we don't sell them together with the signals. But if all you're looking for is a nice low profile signal, this is basically as far as you'll go with this. Wrap it all back up, do the other side, reverse order of disassembly, and you're good to go. Now, if you do want a running light, I mentioned that we do provide a system called the Running Mate. It's a very nicely packaged little slim unit. It usually is available with a vehicle specific 3-to-3 sub harness here. So it's basically like our 3-to-2, but it terminates in 3 wires, same connector that is meant for plugging into the vehicle. And you basically just replicate red to red, black to black, red to red, brown to brown, blue to blue, and you would go with the same exact procedure for insulating these, making sure that the insulator caps don't slide off. I'm not going to show redundant steps. What I'm going to show is the difference in functionality once we plug this setup in. So let me take this connector off, replace it with this. On the signal connection here, it's yellow to yellow, black to black. We try to keep it simple for you guys. And again, you need to lock these guys down. But I already showed you how to do that, so I will not demonstrate it again. We'll just show you how this works when it's all plugged in. So the running light is lit at 80% the brightness of what this lamp is capable of. When you do initiate the signaling, it flashes at 100% of the brightness that it's capable of. At this point, again, you would lock these guys down, wrap it all up, make sure it's hanging to the frame, reverse order of disassembly after putting on the other side, and then you're good to go. Now, for the other signals that I'll be installing, the procedure for wiring is exactly the same. So the only thing I'll be showing past this point in this video is just a physical installation of the lamps to the bike, and then you guys will just have to follow the procedures that I showed you for the 2 different versions of this wiring setup from the previous steps. All right, let's get going with that. The second installation we'll be performing is with the BL6 signals. What you see here are the light smoked version. They also do come in clear. Choice is yours. Very simple. They are side specific. They do have the TST Industries logo, so you want to orient them in a way that it's legible and upright. Also, another identification mark is the rounded part of the lens versus flat. The rounded goes to the top. So for the left side here that we'll be mounting, we've chosen the left specific lamp. Let's take off the nut and the washer. And then let's talk about our options for mounting plates. We do have a vehicle specific kit for this bike. I'm going to empty out the contents. This contains a number of different types of plate. I typically just go with this shaped plate for each side, and then a round washer for each side. Reason being, I like the washer to deform in there. That prevents the nut from spinning back off. We do provide several different types of plate, so you can actually freestyle this installation. Choice is yours. This is what I recommend though. So we'll grab one of these. To make this installation as easy as possible, I like to pre-configure this out of the bike. So large outer plate first, and then the round washer. And then we get our split washer on, and then the nut. Now once these things are all on the wiring, we can get this through here and get the interior components passed through like so. And again, you want to turn the nut onto the stud. You don't want to be turning the actual signal because you run the risk of twisting up the wires, pulling them out of the circuit, and that will break the signal, void your warranty. Now I'll just make sure that my plate is center level. You don't want it to stick out too far past the front of this metal piece, because then it will interfere with this component. So what I like to do is just basically make it pretty much flush with the metal part here, and then make sure that my signal is actually going to be firing parallel to the ground. And using a 12mm open-ended wrench, I'm going to tighten this connection down. I want to make sure that we preload this connection so that vibrations don't loosen it. We do have a split washer on there. We do have several plastic components that are forming themselves around the other geometry of the components here, and that will hold everything together, prevent it from slipping around and vibrating off. All right, so that's pretty much it. Looks like this on the inside. Not much to it, very simple procedure. And now, using the steps that I demonstrated in the previous version of our assembly, you would just go to wiring and reverse order of disassembly after performing the same installation on the right side of the bike. I'm going to break this down and show you guys the echoes. All right, we've come to the third variation of our installation. This is the echo signal. We're going to be using the same plate set that we did for the BL6 signals. What I'd like to do is swap the silver ring to red, because that will accent all of the other parts that we have on this bike already. We have some red adjusters here, a lot of red in the color scheme, so I think this will accent this bike really nicely. For that, we'll need to take this cap off. It just unscrews. Have to be careful not to lose the components from the inside. There is a small O-ring right here that will need to be pried up and away. Try not to damage it. That prevents water from getting into your signal when it's built. We just need to nudge it off the threaded portion. I'm just using a pick here. You could actually use a sewing needle, a safety pin, or something like that. It's fairly simple, but you want to make sure that it goes back on there. And once that O-ring's off, this ring just slips off. We put our new ring on, and the rest is the reverse order of disassembly. Just make sure that you seat the O-ring all the way down past the threaded portion. And then when you get the cap on, you want to make sure that you bottom it out and tighten it. If you don't tighten it, chances are it'll vibrate off while you ride. You don't want to do that. All right, from this point forward, it's very similar to the BL6. Take the nut and washer off. This particular signal does not have a split washer, it has a flat washer. And we'll pre-configure the larger plate with the domed part outwards. We have our large plastic washer, metal washer that came off the signal, and finally the nut. It's very, very simple, same as BL6. We just get the internal components through this hole, get it all lined up, and initiate the threads. Make sure our light beam will be parallel to the ground. Make sure that the front of this plate is pretty flush with the metal part here. And once again, we want to preload all these components against each other without turning them in so far with so much force that we start breaking the plastic. The preload in the plastic parts will keep the threads from unscrewing, from vibration, and we've done this installation this particular way many, many years. It's completely good to go. All right. Basically, same procedure for wiring, whether you have running mate or just straight 3 to 2, same procedure, and repeat on this side, reverse order of disassembly, and good to go. All right, you guys, as you can see, we have left this bike outfitted with the Echo signals. I actually also left the running mate circuit in there so that we do have running lights. All three of these installations are very simple. They don't take very long. All the hardware is provided as long as you buy the appropriate kits for the appropriate different signal. We've shown you 3 different versions. Now you're equipped with all the information to make your choice intelligently. Please head on over to tstindustries.com. You'll find these parts there. We also have integrated taillights, fender eliminators, levers, crash protection, all sorts of stuff. And our catalog expands pretty much weekly for this bike. And we'll be launching many, many more before the end of the year. All right, thank you for watching. Ride safe. See you later.